real quick. Okay, awesome. We're all set. So Terry, thank you once again for coming on and discussing your overall experience with us. It's
My
definitely,
pleasure.
yeah, it's definitely refreshing and very nice to hear as to how your product actually impacted someone's life and someone's workload. So that's definitely very refreshing for us to hear. And I have a couple of questions prepared, but overall, you run the show. So when it comes to your experience with Agent Locator, you've been with us for approximately 4 months now, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Right.
Got it. Okay, awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely great that you already had some positive experience you're willing to share. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
that's good to hear. Here's hoping it's not a honeymoon period.
Well, I'm not new to online leads.
Oh,
So
awesome.
yeah, there was another system that I was using before while I was part of a team.
Hmm.
So when I decided to do my own thing, I knew I definitely wanted to supplement my client base by adding on potential leads through the online system.
Oh, amazing. How long have you been using online lead gen for?
For just over a year now.
Okay, great. So you have some experience. And tell me, in terms of lead generation with Agent Locator, you currently are running buyer leads on Google, right? If I'm not mistaken.
It's split buyer seller.
Buyer seller. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Uh, would you mind letting me know what the budget is?
It's the basic budget. I think it's the minimum 250 per
Mhm.
month.
Got it. Okay, awesome. Great. And tell me, when it comes to training, basically what we do whenever we onboard a client, we also arrange for training. I
Mhm.
believe you've had yours not long after the site went live, right?
Right.
Awesome.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, you've had it with Adna here.
Yeah.
You had it in two parts. So how did you like the training?
Yeah. The training was good. I think I still need more training
Hmm.
just for the nuances of the agent locator
Hmm.
um, platform. But, so far so good. And because I've had experience before, I'm able to sort of just like play with it myself and find a way in which it makes sense to me. But definitely, like always go with the training. Like that's key because it just fast tracks you into what you should be doing instead of
Hmm.
just trying to, fiddle around with the, figuring out yourself. It's great because there's a big element of, pipelining it correctly, all the leads that you are getting. So the hot leads, the medium leads, the ones that go nowhere,
Right.
or, just the, browsers, right? You can
Mm,
definitely like file them into different categories for yourselves.
for sure.
And definitely then through that you make your game plan in how to approach them and when to approach them. And
Hmm.
so
Yeah,
yeah,
you're
so yeah, it's super important to definitely have that training on the site for sure.
right. Amazing. And you mentioned you might potentially need more training in terms of, the nuances of agent locator. So we do offer that for sure. Whenever you need help on something specific, you can reach out to support. And if you'd like to get a more general overview of a certain thing, for sure, we can arrange for another training session. Our trainers do follow up every now and again. So I'm not sure when's the last time that Adna did follow up, but you don't have to wait for that, So if you
Yeah,
think you
no,
need it earlier,
yeah, I've experienced that too. Yeah, and
awesome.
it's been more than great. Yeah, so.
Amazing. Great. Now tell me, you mentioned buyers and sellers, right? So how's that been working out for you so far? I mean, you and I both know online lead gen can be tricky, so I'd love to hear on your experience.
So, in general, when it comes to sellers, which is the good thing about, I think, Agent Locator is that you're able to capture at least partial information from
Hmm.
a potential seller. Because we've been experiencing such a seller's market, in the last basically 6 months,
Right.
I sort of wanted to split my lead generation between the sellers and the buyers. There's more buyers out there than there are sellers. So, but
Mhm.
because you do a partial extraction of the information, so if they don't want to fully sign up, you still know kind of the address. Maybe you
Right.
can look it up and call them, which is another way of actually and you can check on the telelisting on the do not call list. You can see if they're available to call or not, and which I've done as well. So, and I've gotten, I would say a good handful of leads. I mean, one of them, like, the key is, I think, to really call them right away and figure out what their unique situation is and how you can help them.
For
And
sure.
once you establish an initial connection with them, like, don't just let the automated text messaging, or the automated emails. You should really just call and connect with them. Through that, yeah, I got a great buyer who was actually moving from Vancouver to Toronto. And when I initially spoke with him, he mentioned, yeah, we're just selling our house here. Once we do that, we know what our budget is. And once he came in June for work purposes. And we just went house hunting from there. Like, we marathon homes, and then we ended up purchasing one.
Amazing.
Yeah. And well, we did a bunch of offers, but we finally got one.
That's all that matters at the end of
Yeah.
the day, for sure. And I mean, I completely agree with you in terms of the approach. As long as you don't approach them like they're a number, your chances of actually connecting with them and actually making that
Yeah.
sale at the end of the rainbow, right? They're a lot higher, because you are going to be involved in potentially the biggest decision of their life, which
Yeah.
is purchasing a home. So it's not really irrational to expect, a certain kind of connection to be established.
Yeah, and I think you have to make that personal connection with them. I think they don't just want to, like, I mean, most people anyhow, they're skeptical about committing to anyone. So you have to really put yourself out there and show them that you are trustworthy, that you are, doing what you should be doing, and the due diligence, and providing them with good information. And I think that helps out in the long run,
Mhm.
no matter what, even if they don't transact with you. But just, just keep it, the same. Like, you're true to your word, you're consistent,
Exactly.
you give them what they need, so on and so forth. So, yeah.
Exactly. It cannot harm your chances no matter what you do. So as long as you have that connection, you're only going to be golden. So
Yeah.
completely agree with you on that. So you mentioned you had one buyer. Would you mind letting me know how long it actually took to kind of convert them, for lack of a better term?
So this one, I think also was a little bit of, I would have to say, luck and positioning in terms of the timing of what they were doing in their life. But it came on board, and I believe I spoke with him the next day that they had registered. And
Hmm.
he was still in Vancouver, and he's like, yes, we need a lot of help. We're moving. We don't know anything. We don't know where to go. We don't know where to be.
Right.
And then for the next couple of weeks, I was sending him a whole slew of information on a few different areas of the city. And so basically, I would say, I think they came in the end of April-ish. So the next couple of weeks was information back and forth, a few more phone calls. And then he called me when they had sold their property and they were ready to, and then they just was sending me, and I was sending them back a bunch of different properties to go see. So all in all, because they were highly motivated and they wanted a place, and they were doing this move, I don't know, let's say May, June, we did the deal. What day is it today? So it was, like, let's say 3 weeks ago. It took about 6 weeks.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
that's good.
it's like, that's an anomaly, right? Like, that doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, that's fair, but timing's always going to be a factor. Timing's always
Yeah.
going to be a factor for sure. So don't sell yourself short.
Well, what you have with online leads, you have two with online leads. The people who are, like, sort of browsing and gearing up to, let's say, potentially making a purchase, and then you have the ones, no, I got to buy now, or
For sure.
or I got to sell now, whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
So the ones that sort of tear your hair out are the ones that don't have a significant time date in place, right? So, but you still have to provide them with as much information and as much knowledge as you can, because when that moment comes, who are they going to turn to? right? They're
Exactly.
going to turn to the one who's been actually helping them out along the way.
Exactly. Exactly. All kind of circling back towards what we mentioned at the beginning of the call. As long as you have that connection with them, then you're golden because they're always going to have a fallback. I mean, multiple realtors are going to be contacting them throughout. It's just
Yeah.
how it works for sure.
Yeah. And they
Ex-
also will sign up on various different websites,
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
it just depends who they connect with. And that's why it's kind of important to also reach out to them as soon as you can once they've come in through your
Mhm.
system. I did a test run. I would do it on my own with other sites to see how quickly agents would get back to me.
That's amazing.
So when people actually, other agents that I knew actually ended up calling me back and they were like, oh, yeah, we could sell your house. We know that neighborhood. I said, hey,
But that's amazing. You do your due diligence. That's for sure great. Now, considering you have that proactive approach, I'd love to hear more as to how your follow-up process differs from the, automated aspect that we provide, because we can only do so much. We can
yeah.
only potentially lead you to that first contact. But if you do anything differently, I'd love to hear about it.
Um, okay, so what I have done, and I haven't done this yet within Agent Locator, just
Mhm.
because I've just been hugely just knowing the system and getting into it,
Right.
and actually busy with clients. But what I've done is I also have a BombBomb account.
Okay.
So BombBomb is the sort of let's say video version,
Hmm.
and what I did with my other ones is like you do a monthly market update. Like you give them sort of 4 points of contact, if you
Hmm.
can, 2 points of contact, depending on where they are in their search, right?
Right.
If they're just, looking, so you give them a couple points of contact in which you can actually send to them and you don't actually have to call them. So if they're just browsing, if they're just 6 months
Right.
out, if they're a year out, you want to give them market updates, possibly if they have something to sell and then buy, right? You
Hmm.
want to show them what the market's doing in their neighborhood specifically. you could
Right.
do you could do that, and I have done that. But that's one way of, for me, reaching out without actually having to sit there and make calls.
Hmm. Right.
That's in addition to, right? So let's say you call them once a month or you call them twice a week. I mean, it just depends on if you get them or you don't get them, or what their attitude is, and what their
Right.
timeline is. So there's that. In terms of keeping in touch, I also, well, you provide the ability to label all the clients, and that's what I do, and that actually gives me the structure, who I'm calling, when I'm calling them, right?
Hmm.
So I'm not wasting my time on people who've said to me, hey, this is the wrong number, or I'm not,
Right.
I just, I'm not serious, or I'm 12 years old, I'm doing a research project on properties, because that happens too. And then there's some people that are a bit like, I don't know who this is. I don't know why my name is on
Yeah.
here.
Never left my details anywhere. Yeah. Tell me,
So
do you,
yeah, that's what I like to do, is for myself, is categorize them in that way. So I know that what's my real potential out of the number of leads that I'm getting.
mhm,
What's the ones I'm not going to necessarily worry about, put them on the back burner, and then the ones that I
awesome,
have to nurture, right?
amazing. Yeah,
So I don't know if that's helpful, but that's
absolutely,
something that I do.
absolutely. That's very
Yeah.
helpful. In terms of the leads that you kind of categorize as either leads that are not, you know, not worthy of currently wasting your time on it, right? Either
Yeah.
following up or stuff like that. Do you delete them by any chance, or
No, no,
perfect, perfect?
no. We
That's one
never
of
delete a potential,
the
no matter what.
absolutely. And it costs you nothing to kind of leave them on the search, but also just for your own, records to kind of see, all right, so out of this many leads, I've gotten this many leads that were actually valid leads that had invalid phones or invalid emails, et cetera, et cetera. So that's good. That's one of the questions that I've always asked just to kind of see
Yeah.
what your methods look like.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it could be in a file called potential delete, or going nowhere, but it's never gone.
Yeah, you can categorize it however you want, just leave it
Yeah,
in the system. That's that's all that I have to recommend on the matter. Amazing.
yeah,
Perfect. Yeah, that's very insightful in terms of, what your follow-up process looks like and, you know, basically what you can provide. You can provide information. and it doesn't
Yeah.
really cost you a whole lot to provide that as long as you have it automated, which is why, either BombBomb or us or the different providers, we're great in that particular aspect. But like mentioned previously, we can only get you so far. So
Yeah.
there's a certain period of time where you have to take over and kind of show off your expertise and kind of make them trust you and make them figure out, hey, so I actually should be working with Terry. Terry's gonna find me a great home.
Sounds
Now, tell
good.
me, I do have one last question, and this is definitely something we love to ask everyone.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of touched on it a bit previously, but if you were to have an up-and-coming agent or anyone that you'd give some advice to, if you had to single out one particular advice in terms of lead management or your nurturing, following up, et cetera, what would be the most crucial thing from your perspective?
Oh, call, call, call. Don't stop calling.
Yeah.
Like put aside a few hours every day. I don't care when it is. If it's from 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock, if it's from 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock, it doesn't matter. But just put that time aside
Mhm.
that you're calling and connecting with the leads. Listen, if they're not buying, they're not selling, there's nothing we can do. But if you're not connecting, that's on you, right? Because
Right,
we can. I mean, we know we have the time to do it, right? Like,
right.
we do have the
That's
time to do it.
that's fair. I mean, even if they're not buying or selling right now, chances are they are going to do so in the future. So,
Yeah,
like,
I mean, and even I struggle with that because it's the balance. When I'm busy and I'm doing offers or I'm working with buyers, which is hard sometimes because you're out for a good number of hours.
mhm,
What's happening tomorrow? What's happening the next month? What's happening in 2 months down? If you don't have that set up for you, then actually you are not really using like online leads to the best of your advantage because they are supposed to be there to cushion
right.
your income from future income, whatever, 2 months away, 3 months out, whatever it may be, right? Like you want
Mhm.
that, you want to be able to do that. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And the thing that you mentioned, focusing on calls, I think that's pretty much what 90% of our successful realtors would recommend. You need to stay on top of your follow-up game. And you mentioned even blocking out parts of your day to kind of just set that aside for calls. What we also recommend is to make sure that those times change. So it's not fixed from 9 to 11 because, chances are if you haven't really got them at that point in time, you might want to try a different time, or
yeah,
even making sure that they aren't accustomed to, oh no, so Terry's going to be calling me at 9 a.m. I need to make sure I'm not
yeah.
available then. So that's one of the strategies that we also recommend. For example, we have our live dialing webinars. Have you ever attended one of those?
No,
Got it.
no.
Okay. Are you a part of our Facebook group by any chance?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, awesome. So we do announce those. Basically, we have live dialing with Beverly Ruffner. And
Mhm.
honestly, the amount of material that you can extract from that is amazing because she's very good in communicating with people, kind of making sure they let their guard down. So I would 100% recommend that. But I think you're doing just fine on your own as well. So it's great to have you here because the fact that you've only been with us for 4 months and you already have stories to tell is amazing. That's truly great to see and great to hear. And
Yeah.
I think I've pretty much exhausted all my questions. Tell me, do you have anything
Okay.
for me, Terry?
Okay, awesome. Let's get back. Well, let me get back to work then.
Sounds good. I definitely don't want to take up too much of your time. Thank you so much for the chat. I really had a blast. And
Okay, thank
say
you.
hi to the Frenchies for me.
Awesome. Okay. Take
Thanks so
care.
much,
Thank
Terry.
you.
Bye bye.